day, everyone. My name is Saliu Isiaka. Welcome to the Rock Online class. And here we're going to look at some questions in mathematics. So I believe we're going to enjoy the class. But before we start, do not forget to follow us, share, and like, and subscribe to our channel for to have the benefits of getting all future videos. Thank you, and we begin. All right, the first question is here, and it says express 0.00003963 in standard form. So we have 0.00003963 in standard form. And we know when they say standard form, we simply want to have an expression, a mathematical expression that is a digit, then with a point after the digit, then any other digit follows. Then we're going to express it by 10 raised to power something. So how do we go? The decimal point is here right now. We're going to do what? We're going to move it, keep shifting until we meet the first figure. So let's shift, and we count the number of shifts we make. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so we have 5. So we shifted 5 times until we met a digit. So we're going to write 3.963 times 10 raised to power. I know you might be thinking it should be 5. No, minus 5, because anytime we shift to the right hand side, it is always minus. Anytime we shift to the left hand side, it's always going to be plus. So we're going to write minus 5, and that is going to be the final answer for that. So if we look at all the options, the option that has 3.963 times 10 raised to power minus 5 is option A. So option A is the correct option for question 1. So we go to the next question. All right, it says, find the value of 1101 base 2 all squared. So we say this is a number-based question, and not really difficult, moreover. So we have to find the value of 1101 in base 2 all squared. So there are a lot of ways of doing this, but the fastest approach to doing it is to bring 1101 to a number in base 10. From base 10, we make use of our scale, then we convert back to base 2. So let's go. So bring 1101 base 2 to base 10. What do? We label from the right down to the left. So we start from 0, 1, 2, 3. And we say the same thing as, so we bring the first number 1. Then we say times the base 2. But to the power of what? What is on top? That is 3. Then we add the next plus 1 times 2 raised to power 2 plus 0 times 2 raised to power 1 plus 1 times 2 raised to power 0. Having done this, we go again. What is 2 raised to power 3? It is 8 plus 1. 2 raised to power 2 is 4 plus this one automatically becomes 0 because 0 multiplied by any number is 0. Then plus 2 raised to power 0 is 1. So any number raised to power 0 is always 1 in mathematics. So I'm going to write 1 times 1. And we say this is 8 plus 4 plus 1. And this is going to be 13. So this number alone is 13. So if we fix it in the bracket, what do we have? We're going to say 13 squared. And 13 squared means what? 13 multiplied by 13. And this is going to be 169. So our next what to do is to convert 169 back to base 2 and we have our answer. So from this 169, we're going to convert this 169 to a number in base 2. So you know how we do it? We write 169 and we say, we put the number, the base we want to convert to, which is base 2. Then we put the remainder and we just write it simply as I. Then we start with what? 2 divided by 169, it is 84. But 84 times 2, it is 168. So we have a remainder, which is what? 1. So we go again, 2 goes in 84 is 42. And the remainder in this case is going to be 0. And 2 goes in 42 is 21. The remainder is what? 0. And 2 goes in 21 is 10. A remainder is 1. 2 goes in 10 is 5. Remainder is 0. 2 goes in 5 is what? Is 2. Remainder 1. And 2 goes in 2 is 1. Remainder 0. Finally, 2 goes in 1 is not possible, so we write 0, but the remainder we're going to write. So we're going to write them out up. From bottom up. So we're going to write the numbers and it's going to be 1 0 1 0 1 0 0 1 in base 2. So let's go to our options and see which one coincides or has exactly this. So 1 0 1 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 001, and that is obviously going to be option B. So our option for this question 2 is option B. So next, all right, we have our next question here. It says a man drove for 4 hours at a certain speed. He then doubled his speed and drove for another 3 hours. Altogether, he covered 600 kilometers. At what speed he did drive for the last 3 hours? So this has to do with distance, speed, and time. And we know the relationship between speed, distance, and time is that speed equals distance over time. So all you say distance equals speed multiplied by time. So that is just their relationship, and we begin. Let's see, a man drove for 4 hours, so at a certain speed. Let the speed be what? Be, let's use V for speed, VV. Then the first time he drove, he covered a certain distance, obviously, but for 4 hours at a certain speed. So the distance covered initially, before he doubled that, initially is going to be the speed times time, that is V multiplied by 4, which is 4V kilometer. So that's the initial distance covered, because distance is speed times time. He then doubled his speed. So when he doubled his speed, the new speed becomes double this multiplied by 2 of the initial speed. So it becomes what? 2V. And he did this for what? Another 3 hours. So distance covered when he doubled the speed equals to 2V multiplied by 3, because he did that for 3 hours, and this is going to be what? 6V kilometer. So the total distance covered to us is going to be 6V plus 4V. So 6V plus 4V will be the total distance covered. So total distance covered will be what? 6V plus 4V, and this is what? 10V. But the question told us that all of the distance together is 600 kilometers. So if I say 10V, it's the same thing as saying what? 600 kilometers. And what does it mean? It means if I divide both sides by 10V equals to 600, then dividing both sides by 10, then what do I have? I have V equals to 60 kilometers per hour. That was the speed he was initially moving at. So it says, at what speed did he drive for the last 3 hours? Don't forget that for the last 3 hours, he doubled this speed. So the speed for the last 3 hours, for the last 3 hours, speed becomes, don't forget, we've already said it was going to be 2V. We now be 2 times 60 kilometers per hour. And this simply what? 120 kilometers per hour. That is it. So the correct option here is A. So it is 120 kilometers per hour. Next. Alright, we have a question here. And the question says 2x plus 3 equals to 1 and x minus 2y equals to 11. Then we should look for what? X plus y. So how do we do this? This is simply a simultaneous equation problem. So a simultaneous equation problem consists of 2 unknowns and 2 equations, all in linear form. They have to be in linear form, otherwise we wouldn't call them simultaneous linear equations. So let's write them out. We have 2x plus 3y equals 1. So we can call this equation 1. And we have x minus 2y equals 11. We can call this equation 2. So there are different methods with which we can solve this problem, but I prefer to use our substitution method. Or in substitution method, I pick any of my equations, any of the 2 equations, and make a variable a serial formula. So here I prefer to pick equation 2. So from equation 2, that is this equation, I make x the serial formula. So x becomes equals to 11, then minus 2y is coming, it becomes what? Plus 2y. So I call this equation 3. This is my equation 3. I now substitute equation 3 into what? Into 1. Substituting equation 3 into what? Into 1. However, you cannot substitute equation 3 into 2. The reason is that you got your equation 3 from equation 2. If you substitute such again into that same equation, you are going back to where you're coming from. So we prefer to substitute that into the first equation. And this is going to be 2. So anywhere we have our x, we put that value there. So instead of writing 2x, I put the value of x, which is 11 plus 2y plus 3y equals to 1. And with this, we're going to open the brackets and we have 22 plus 4y plus 3y equals 1. And we say 4y plus 3y is 7y. I write 7y equals to 1. Then I bring 22 here, becomes minus 22. Because there is a plus in front of 22, you as a mathematics student, you should see that coming. So I have 7y equals to minus 21. So what I simply do is to divide both sides by 7. And what do I get? Y equals to minus 3. So having gotten y equals to minus 3, what do I do? I substitute it back into equation 3. What do I say? So putting y equals to minus 3 into equation 3, Then I have x equals to 11 plus, instead of writing 2y, I've already had my y to be minus 3. I just put 2 into minus 3. And this is going to be 11. 2 times minus 3 is what? Minus 6. And this is going to be 5. Meaning my x is 5 and my y is minus 3. But the question says find x plus y. So I simply add my two variables together. I can say therefore x plus y is going to be, what is my x? 5. What is my y? Minus 3 plus minus 3. And this becomes 5 minus 3. And my answer is what? 2. So the correct option is D for question 4. Let's go to the next question. Alright, here we have a problem on variation. And it says P varies directly as the square of Q and inversely as R. If P is 36 when Q is 3 and R is 4, find P when Q is 5 and R is 2. So this is a variation. You know, in variation you can have direct variation, inverse variation, or joint variation. Even there are partial variation. Here it's a joint variation because it goes directly as well as going inversely. So let's do justice to this. So we say, question says P varies directly as the square of Q. So I'm going to put Q, then squared it. But inversely, so when I hear inversely, it will be in the numerator side as what? As R. I put R here. This is just the statement that you need. However, from this statement, you can introduce a constant of proportionality to change the variation sign to equality sign. So I write P equals Q squared. I introduce K all over R. And I want to make K the same formula. So what do? I have K equals to P R all over Q squared. So I need to find my K. So how do I find my K? I put the values, the initial values given to me. I use to get my constant of proportionality. So don't forget, the question says when P was 36, my Q was 3, and my R is 4. So I put these values into this to get my K. So what do I go? I have K equals to P, which is 36, times R, which is 4, all by Q squared. But that is going to be 3 squared. And you know this is going to be 36 multiplied by 4, all by what? All by 9. So you know 9 goes in 36, how many times? That is going to be 4 times. So my K happens to be 4 times 4, and this is going to be 16. So my K is actually 16. Having gotten my K to be 16, I go now and write this formula, now putting the value of K as 16 to solve my equation. So I'm going to write P equals to, instead of writing K here, I just write 16. Then I write Q squared all by R. So this is the formula connecting P, Q, and R. The question might come again and ask you for the formula connecting P, Q, and R. So this is going to be the formula. However, in this case, we have to look for P. Then to find P, we don't know P, so I just put my question mark. When Q is what? Q was given as 3, and R is now given, sorry, Q is given as 5, and R is given as, Q is given as 5, and R is given as 2. So I just put the value of Q and R into this equation and get my answer. So let's do just that together. So I'm going to have P equals to 16 multiplied by Q is 5. But the question says 5 squared. So all by 2. And what does it mean? it means I'm going to have 2 here, 1, 2 here, it is what? 8. So I'm going to have 8 times, we all know 5 squared is what? 25. And if you multiply 8 by 25, you're going to have 200. So the correct option here is option D. Go to the next question. Alright, the next question says the locus of a point which is equidistant from a fixed point is what? So literally it's just your knowledge on construction. When we say a locus is just a kind of movement of a point in a geometric plane whose movement is what is described by a certain function. However, the function might not be too obvious to you, but let's see how this goes. Let's solve this together. So it says the locus of a point which is equidistant from a fixed point. So if you have a fixed point and there is a point that is always the same distance from that point, and you keep asking yourself, this looks like what? It looks like a circle. So it's going to be a circle. Let me draw a better circle here. It's going to be a circle with what? With a point. But however, it moves at equidistant from a fixed point. This is a fixed point. One thing that can do this is your radius of a circle. So the answer is what? Radius of a circle. So our option here, the right option is B. Let's go to the next question. Alright, question 7 says, what is the value of k for which makes the equation below a perfect square? And we have the equation. So the equation is 2x squared plus 3x plus k equals 0. So we want to make this a perfect square. What value of k? In the first place, we need to ask ourselves a question: is the quotient of x squared, is it unity? Is it 1? If no, then you can just proceed. You just have to make it a unity. But in mathematics, nothing is impossible. So let's see how to maneuver this. To make this the coefficient of x squared to be 1, we divide everything in that equation by what? By 2. Because if you call something an equation, whatever we do to the right hand side, we do to the left hand side. Whatever we do to element A, we do to that of B. So we say divide through by 2. Why do we have to do this? Just to make the coefficient of x squared to be what? 1. And when we do that, we're going to have 2x squared plus 3x plus k equals 0. We divide this by 2, by 2, by 2, and by 2. What is it? 2 goes, it goes, then this becomes 0. So my equation becomes x squared plus 3 over 2x plus k over 2 equals 0. And now what next do we do? We now bring out the coefficient of what? Of x. We bring out the coefficient of x, we divide that coefficient of x by 2, then we square, then we add here. So we're going to bring out the coefficient of x, which is 3 over 2. We multiply it by 1 over 2, or in another word, you say we divide it by 2. If you divide the fraction by 2, it's as good as say multiplying the fraction by 1 over 2. So we're going to have it as what? 3 over what? 4. Then this 3 over 4, what do we do? We square it. And when we square 3 over 4, we have what? 9 over 16. This 9 over 16 is going to be this k over 2. So this k over 2 must be equal to 9 over 16 for this expression to be what? A perfect square. So we're going to say k over 2 must be equal to 9 over 16 for this to be a perfect square. And how do we get k? We simply multiply both sides by what? 2. So if we multiply both sides by 2, 2 here we have cancelled, then multiply this by 2. This goes, it means k, 2 here 1, 2 here 8, must be equal to what? 9 over 8. So our correct option is what? Option C, 9 over 8. Next question. Alright, the question says, find the least length of a rod which can be cut into exactly equal strips, each each of either 40 centimeter or 48 centimeter. And you just need to understand the question before you start anything. So we want to see which of these options will 40 centimeter go and 48 centimeter will go with the same option without leaving a remainder. That brings me back to your knowledge. Down in primary school, you were taught what? Lowest common multiple. So I'm going to literally, the question is just asking us for what? The LCM of 40 centimeter and 48 centimeter. So you know how you do it? 40, 48, and you are going to start with 2. 2 goes in 40 is 20, in 48 is 24. 2 again, 2 goes in 20 is 10, in 24 is 12. 2 again, 2 goes in 10 is what? Is 5, in 12 is 6. Nothing else. We go to the next possible value that can cut any of this, and this is going to be what? 5. 5 goes in 5 is 1, goes in 6 is impossible, so we rewrite the what? The 6. And the last thing that can happen there is 6. 1, 1. So our LCM is going to be CM is going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 5 times 6. And that is going to be the option that is going to be most correct. And this is going to be 8. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 8 times 5 times 6. 8 times 5 is what? Is 40. And 40 times 6 is what? 240. And it means the correct option there is what? Is B. However, if you check again, you look at 240 divided by 40 we go, and 240 divided by 48 we also go without really leaving any remainder. So the correct option is what? Is B. Next. Alright, a rectangular lawn has an area of 1,850 square yards. If its length is 15 meters, find its width in meters, given that 1 meter equals 1.1 yards. And here we need to run some conversion. So literally, I will advise in this kind of scenario, we bring all our meters down to yards, or we bring all our yards to meter. So the question says 1 meter equals 1.1 yards. However, the area was given in square of yards. So to get that conversion from meter square to yard square, what do? We say we just square both sides of the conversion. So and this is going to be 1 meter squared, because 1 squared is what? 1. So you square both. 1 squared is 1 meter squared, it becomes meter squared. This gives us the conversion from meter squared to what? To yard square of yard. So 1.1 squared, if you check your calculator, 1.1 squared is going to give you 1.21. So this is going to be 1.21 square yards. So that's it. So I now convert all of my square yards into what? Into meter square. Since I know 1 meter square is 1.21 square yards, then from meter square, let me just put x. It's going to be what? 1815 square yards. And how do I get that? I simply say my x will be what? 1815 all divided by 1.21. And this is going to be 1815 divided by 1.21, and this is going to be 1,500 meter square. So the area in what? In meter square is 1,500 meter square. However, we're told that the length is 50 meters, so we are looking for the what? For the width. The question says a rectangular lawn. So we know for a rectangle, area is what? Length times breadth. Area of lawn is going to be length times breadth. So this area, which is 1500 meters squared, is going to be length, which is what? 50 meters, and times the weight. The breadth is also known as weight. So let me change it as weight here. And what do? We say weight is going to be 1500 divided by 50. This is going to be what? 30 meter. So the correct option is option D here. So next question. Question 10. Find the coordinates of the midpoint of the line joining 3, -4 and -1, 10. This is a problem on what? Equation of a straight line, or you call it gradient of a point. Let's see how that is done. So we need to remember the formula for getting the what? The midpoint of any two lines. And the formula is simply y xn and what? Yn. For xn, it will be x1 plus x2 all by 2. For yn, it is y1 plus y2 all by 2. So here we're given our coordinates. So you simply pick any pair and call it 1 and 2. Pick the other pair and call it 1 and 2. So I'm going to have the first pair given to me with what? X1 equals to 3 and y1 equals to -4. The second pair, I call it x2 equals to -1 and y2 equals to 10. However, there is no hard and fast rule to this. You could have chosen yours to be x1 -1, y1 10, and x2 3, y2 -4. We are all still going to what? We are all going to arrive at the same answer. So let's just put it in this formula. Then I know the midpoint that corresponds to x is going to be x1, which is what? 3 plus x2 -1 all by 2. Then the y coordinate will be what? y1, which is -4 plus 10 all by 2. And let's see how this works. This is simply going to be what? 2 by 2, and that is 1. And this is simply going to be 6 by 2, and this is what? 3. So our coordinates will be what? xn1, yn 3. So it's going to be 1 followed by 3, not a reverse case. So the correct option here is what? Is B, 1, 3. Our next question. Right, we have question 11, and we're given a cubic function fx is specified by the graph shown above. The values of the independent variable for which the function vanishes are. So here we have a graph given to us. So I will quickly sketch the graph for better visibility. So we have this. And the graph just literally points this way and this. So we have what? F of x and what? And this is going to be your x value. So this is going to be your x value. It is 0 here, that is the origin. It is cutting it at -1 here, and it is cutting it at what? At 1. The question says the values of the independent variables. So we have two variables here, the independent and the dependent. Which ones are the independent variable? The independent variable are what? Are the x-axis. So whenever you have a function, the independent variable is x because they do not depend on your function. However, the function depends on x. So we call f of x as what? The dependent variable. So if you don't want this to exist, then the independent variable are going to assume a values of -1, 0, and 1. Because at -1, the function ceases to exist, to be 0. At 0, the function will still be 0. And at 1, it will still be what? 0. So the correct option here is -1, 0, and 1. So those are the values for which the function is going to vanish. And the correct option is A. We go to the next question. Alright, the question says, find the value of x for which the function has a maximum value. Find the value of x. And you can see, this is a question on what? On calculus. Calculus, which of the calculus? Calculus is divided into two parts. We have the what? The integral calculus and the what? Differential calculus. When it has to do with minimum or maximum, it is what? It is a differential calculus. So literally we're going to look at this and get when is the function going to be what? Maximum. So let's do justice to that. So we have function of x. Function of x equals to 2x cubed minus x squared minus 4x plus 4. And the question says, for which value is it going to be what? Maximum. We need to get what we call the critical points. What are the critical points? The critical points are the points at which the gradients of this function are changing. The gradient is moving either from negative to positive or from positive to negative, or even from either positive to negative or either positive or negative to 0. So those are the what? Critical points. How do you get the critical point? You give it the first derivative and you equate it to 1. So let's get our first derivative. Our first derivative is going to be what? The function of x all over dx. So we differentiate this function with respect to x. And if you do that, it's going to be, don't forget how we do it. The power up here is going to multiply the coefficient down there. So this is going to be 3 times 2, and this will be 6. You write the function, the unknown, put the power down, but this time around, you reduce the power by what? By 1. So instead of writing 3, we won't write the 3 again. We're going to write what? 2. And that is going to be squared minus 2 multiply the gradient of x minus x is what? 1. So it's going to be 2, then x reduces the power by what? By 1. So I'm going to have what? 2x raised to power 1. But in mathematics, raised to power 1 is inherent in every number. So I don't need to do what? I don't need to write that raised to power 1. And then this one minus the power here up here is 1. Then multiply by minus 4 is just 1, minus 4. However, the x there is going to vanish because if you differentiate a function that is a linear function, it's just going to give you the what? The coefficient. This is plus 4. It is a constant. If you differentiate any constant, it's going to be what? 0. So we forget that side. So this is my what? This is my critical points. At this point, the slope of this function is changing. It's changing. So we want to know how many points we have that gave us what? Our slope. And it's a function that is of 3 order. We're expecting 2 slopes. So let's get that. So if we're going to say at critical points, what happens? Our function, our derivative, which is the f of x all over dx, must be equal to 0. It means we equate this as what? 6x squared minus 2x minus 4. So we are going to solve this to be equal to 0. So what do? I write 6x squared minus 2x minus 4 equals to 0. And as you all know, this is my quadratic equation. So I look at it, let me cut it down to the smallest, and this 2 can go, So this is going to be what? 3x squared minus what? X minus 2 equals to 0. What did I do? I simply do what? I simply divided all of this term by what? By 2. Now I told you in our previous question that an equation still really values if you do what you do to one entity in that equation, you do to every of them. So here it makes it simplified for me, and now I can make use of what? Of my factorization method. If you like, you can make use of any method, but I prefer factorization method in this case. So in my factorization method, how do we go about it? You bring the first power and the last power. You multiply them together. This is going to give you what? 3x squared multiplied by minus 2. And this is going to give you minus 6x squared. You now look for 2 factors of minus 6x squared, which when you multiply together, it just gives you minus 6x squared. But adding them together, we give you the middle value, which is minus x. And randomly, we keep running this simulation in our head what 2 factors of minus 6x squared is just going to satisfy this condition. But that's not a problem. 2 and 3 are there for you. 2 and 3 are there for you. So literally, if I have minus 2 and or minus 3 and 3, or I say minus 3 and 2. So if I multiply, let me put x. So minus 2x multiplied by 3x will give me minus 6x squared. Minus 3x and multiplied by 2x will still give me minus 6x squared. However, only one can do this for me. Only one I can add together, only a pair I can add together to give me the middle number. And you see, this minus 2x plus 3x is just going to give you x. This is not x, it is minus x. So we are going to invalidate this option. We go for the second option, which is what? Minus 3x and 2x. So instead of writing minus x in our equation, we fix these two pair in there. And what do we have? We're going to have, so we're going to have 3x squared. Instead of writing minus x, I just write minus 3x plus 2x plus, or minus 2 equals 0. And I pick the first two and I put them in bracket, and the last two I put them in bracket. Here I can factorize. Factorization means bringing what is common out. So what is common to 3x squared and 3x is simply what? 3x. And what do I have left? I'm going to have x minus 1. And what is common to 2x and minus 2? It is simply what? 2. So I write plus 2, and I still have x minus 1 equals 0. At this point, if you had an error in your analysis, it's going to show up, because the two brackets you're going to have are not just going to be the same. If they are not the same, it means there is a problem. So you go back again and check where the mistake might have come from. However, since we have the same thing in these two brackets, we just make use of one of them. So I'm just simply making use of one of them, and I bring these two numbers outside the bracket together, so they are going to act as another bracket. So I have 3x plus 2 equals 0. So I have an option here. I have x minus 1 equals 0, or 3x plus 2 equals 0. In this case, it means that what? X will be what? 1. In this case, it means what? X is what? Minus 2 by 3. So these are my critical points. But that's not where we're going. We just have gotten our critical point. Either x equals to 1 will give us maxima or maximum value, or x minus 2 over 3 will give us maximum value. So we run the second test. The first test is to know our critical point. The second test is to find the second derivative of our function. So let's find the second derivative of our function. Don't forget, our first derivative is this. So let's go for the second derivative of our function. So our second derivative, let's maximize the board. So our second derivative is differentiating what we have differentiated before now. So we say the squared of function of x all over the x squared, and we're going to differentiate this. This is just going to be what? Equals to 12x minus 2. You still remember how we did the first one? We bring this power and multiply by the coefficient. This time around it is 12. Then we reduce the power by 1. That's why we're having 12x. Here, the power is just 1 here. Multiply by minus 2, you just have minus 2. And when you reduce the power by 1 again, you have x raised to power 0. And you know any number raised to power 0 is what? 1. So that's why we just left it without x. Here, this my second derivative, I want to run a test. To run this test, there are 3 ways. First, if it is greater than 0, it is giving you a minima, or you call a minimum point. If it is less than 0, it is giving you a maxima or a maximum point. And if it is equal to 0, you call it what? A point of inflection, or you call it your saddle point. So please do not forget, it is not the way you have been expecting this. Maybe Yeah, sorry to disappoint you. That is mathematics for you. You were expecting that if it is greater than 0, it should give you maximum. No, it's going to give you minimum. If it's less than 0, you are expecting it should give you minimum. No, it is going to give you maximum. And we said if it is equal to 0, it's going to be referred to as a turning point or point of inflection. So let's check this. We bring the first value, which is 1, and see if this expression is going to be less than 0. So if we put 1 here, it becomes what? 12 times 1 minus 2, and this is simply 12 minus what? 2, and this is what? 10. Since it is positive number is greater than 0, 1 is going to give me what? A minimum point. So it is not going to be 1. Automatically we know it's going to be the second value, which is what? Minus 2 over 3. Well, however, let's clear your doubt. Let's put it there and see if it's going to actually be what? Less than 0. If you put it, it's going to be 12 times, what is my x? Minus 2 all by 3 minus 2. And this automatically becomes what? Minus 24 all over 3 minus 2. And this minus 8 minus 2, and this minus 10, which is a negative value, and it is less than 1 and less than 0, beg your pardon. That is what? It is a maxima or maximum point. So our correct option is D. We go. So we are told that we need to get the number of sides of a regular polygon. However, the interior angle is twice the exterior. So if I put I for interior and E for exterior to make it simplified, then don't forget one rule about what? About any polygon is what? The sum of the interior and the what? And the exterior must not be more than 180. In other words, you say the interior and this exterior are what? Supplementary. So let's see that I plus E must be equal to 180 degrees. That is the first thing you need to know. For any polygon, any regular polygon, the sum of the interior and the exterior is always going to give you just exactly 180 degrees. However, let's look at the question again. It says if the interior angle is twice the exterior, it means that I is equals to 2 of exterior. I equals to 2E. I can fix it in this equation, and instead of writing I have what? 2E plus E equals 180 degrees. You can see this is simply what? 3E equals 180 degrees, and this dividing both sides by 3, I have E equals to 60 degrees. So my E is 60 degrees, and that is first thing. However, the question never asks us for the what? For the exterior. It only asks for the what? For the number of sides. But we still remember one formula on our polygon. That's what? That number of sides N is 360 degrees all over exterior angle. So now that we've had our exterior angle, we simply say 360 degrees all over 60 degrees. And if you do this perfectly well, you're going to have the number of sides to be what? 6. So it's going to be a 6-sided polygon. And you know, a 6-sided polygon, you know what it's called? Yes, hexagon. So that is C. That is the correct option for 13. Next question. Alright, the question says, what is the circumference of radius of the what? Of the earth. The circumference of the earth when the radius is given. And this has to do with what? With our longitude and latitude. In longitude and latitude, we know that circumference is what? Is simply what? 2 pi r. Where r is radius of the circle, we simply put r there. So we don't have to worry about this. It's as straightforward as being b. So you all know this has to be what? Be the correct option for question 14. 2 pi r, just like in our circle. Because literally in mathematics, we treat the earth as both a sphere at the same time a circle. So the answer is what? 2 pi r. Next question. Alright, this question says the side of a rectangle triangle are x plus 1 centimeter, x minus 1 centimeter, and x centimeter respectively. Find the shortest side of the triangle. And let's do justice to this. So we all know what a rectangle triangle is. Yes, it is a triangle with one of its angles a right angle. A right angle means what? An angle of 90 degrees. So we draw the triangle, and this is the right angle there. That's the first thing. Secondly, we put in our values, and if you look at their values, x plus 1, x minus 1, and x, obviously you know the longest side of this triangle is going to be the x plus 1. So automatically you cannot swap the hypotenuse for anything, and then you're going to write x plus 1 for here, and you can put invariably any of the two. So I can write x minus 1 here and x, or you write your x here and x minus 1 here. However, how do we solve this problem? By what? By Pythagorean theorem. Because Pythagorean theorem says hypotenuse squared equals to opposite squared plus what? Adjacent squared. So our hypotenuse, which is x plus 1 squared, is going to be any of them you can choose as the opposite. So x minus 1 squared plus x squared, that is the adjacent squared. And we have to open this bracket. So to open this bracket is simply as good as saying x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals to x squared minus 2x plus 1 plus x squared. And what do? We simply look at this and this, and you can say this x squared and this x squared can go, this plus 1 and this plus 1 can go. In any equation, if you have the same thing in the right hand side as the left hand side, you can strike them up, because by virtue of taking them to that side, they are going to change the sign, which automatically cancels it out. And that's the reason why I'm doing this, cancelling this, and this one cancelling this one. So literally, maybe you are thinking I'm supposed to have cancelled 2x and 2x. No, because 2x here is positive and the 2x here is negative, so they are not the same, so I wouldn't cancel them. I just leave them behind, and let's do justice to this. From my right hand side, I have x squared minus 2x. I bring 2x here, it also becomes minus 2x, then equals to nothing, 0. Minus 2x is what? Minus 4x. So minus 4x equals 0. Something is common, that is what? X. So my x here can be factorized, and what am I left with here? I have x minus what am I left here with here? I have 4 equals 0. So this literally a quadratic equation solved simply, and they say x equals to 0 or x equals to 4. So our side can be 0 or 4. But you know, it's a triangle, and you don't expect any of the sides to be 0. If it becomes 0, it's no more a triangle. So we strike this off a possible value. So the only option, or the only value our x can assume, is x equals to 4. And we have to go back to the question to choose our answer. It says the shortest side of the triangle, and obviously it's just going to be what? The one that is with what? X minus 1, because it's going to be 4 minus 1. So this is just going to be what? 3. So our answer is going to be 3 centimeters. And the correct option is what? Option D for question 15. We go to the next question. Alright, question 16. It gave out a diagram, and it says the figure above is an example of the construction of what? This is one of the basic things you must have been taught in what? In the course of construction in mathematics, bisection. When you see this, the memory will always come back. This is what? A way of bisecting a what? A line. We have line QR, we want to bisect it. Or we have line PX, we want to bisect it. So it's just a what? A bisector. So let's look at the option. Perpendicular bisector to a given straight line. As simple as that. It's a perpendicular bisector to a given straight line. And that is option A for the correct option is A for question 16. Let's go to the next question. Question 17. A 5.0 gram of salt was weighed by Tunde as 5.1 gram. What is the percentage error? So we all know that it's possible anybody could make mistake, but how pronounced is the mistake? That's what we call percentage error. So let's see how it works. In your percentage error, you always have a simple formula. You say percentage error is equals to actual error. However, in this actual error, I'm going to put some absolute value over the what? The correct value times 100%. So the correct value is the one given to us, which is supposed to be what? 5 grams. But today made a mistake and he put it as what? 5.1 grams. So what do? We simply look for the what? For the actual error. Today made an error of 0.1, and simply you can say absolute of what? 5.1 minus 5.0 all over the correct value is what? 5.0. You can multiply by what? 100%. This, I'm putting this absolute value because your percentage error can never be negative. So in the case when you have something like 5 minus 5.10, you wouldn't write minus 0.1. You still write what? Plus 0.1. Note, your percentage error must never be negative. And this is going to be 0.1 all by 5 times 100%. And this simply was 10 all over 5%. And this is what? 2%. That is the percentage error there. That is correct option is what? C for question 17. Let's go to the next question. Alright, question 18. A basket contains green, black, and blue balls in the ratio 5:1. If there are 10 blue balls, find the corresponding new ratio when 10 green and 10 black balls are removed from the basket. This is a ratio problem, and let's do justice just to that. So we have a basket and we have some balls. So the balls are green, black, so I will write BL for black, and blue, BLU rather, then blue, BLU. So the ratio was what? 5:1. So you share it according to the sequence for which the question was brought. So sequentially, it means green is going to assume 5, and what? And black is going to assume 2, and the last one, blue, is going to assume 1. So the total ratio is going to be what? 8. That is the total ratio. However, the question says there are 10 blue balls. There are 10 blue balls means that what? Number of blue balls, that is 1 over the total ratio, which is 8, multiplied by the total number of balls in that basket, is going to be what? Let's call it X. It's going to be 10. That is simply what? For blue balls. And this is going to be X over 8 equals to 10. And you cross multiply, you have X equals to 80 balls. So there are 80 balls in that basket originally. And we go. It says the corresponding new ratio when 10 greens and 10 black balls are removed. And you ask yourself, if there are 80 balls, how many blacks do we have? How many green did we have? So number of green balls is going to be what? The ratio of green 5 to the total ratio 8 multiplied by what? Our 80. And this is simply what? 50 green balls. Then the number of black balls, you have 2 ways. Is either you add 50 and 10 together and remove it from 80 to give you 20, or you still go the hard way. I call it the hard way because simply should have used that shortcut. If there were 80 of them, you had 50 greens, you had 10 black, 10 blue, then the number of black you should have said 10 plus what? 50 minus 80 is going to give you 20. But let's go the hard way. It's going to be what? Ratio of the what? Of the black, that is 2, to the total ratio, which is what? 8 multiplied by the total number of balls, and that is what? 80. And if you do this very well, you're still going to get 20 what? Black balls. So there were 20 black balls originally, 50 green balls originally, and 10 blue balls. However, something happened. 10 green were removed and 10 black were removed. So the new ratio So when you remove 10 black and 10 green, so the number of green becomes what? New green will become 50 minus 10, which is what? 40 green balls. And new what? New black becomes 20 minus 10, because they remove 10 from it, and it becomes what? It becomes also 10 black balls. Don't forget, the blue still remain the way it was. So blue, this black, blue will still be what? 10. And this time around, the total number you have is going to be in the ratio 40 to 10 to 10. If you divide all the ratio by 10, you're going to have 4 ratio 1, and that is the new ratio. So if you look at option D, it gives you the correct option for that question. However, before we move to the next question, do well to subscribe to our channel, like, share for the benefit of others. And we go to the next question, question 19. Alright, question 19 says, if 7 and 189 are the first and the fourth terms of the geometric progression, respectively, find the sum of the first 3 terms of the progression. So we have a GP problem. So let's see how that works. So we have the first term is 7, and don't forget the first term is always indicated as what? A equals to 7, and the fourth term we call it T4. It is equals to what? 189. So we need to find the sum of the first 3 terms of this progression. However, we need to remember that our Tn for any progression, any geometric progression, is going to be AR raised to power n minus 1. So our T4 becomes A, which is 7, times the common ratio raised to power 4 minus 1, and we're given as what? 189. That is simply that way. And with this, we can say 7 r raised to power 3, because 4 minus 1 is 3, is equals to 189. We divide both sides by 7, and this simply giving you r raised to power 3 as what? 27. And with this, you take the cube root of both sides. Taking the cube root of both sides, we have cube root of r cube is equals to cube root of 27. And this gives me what? R equals to 3. It means the common ratio is what? Is 3. Okay. So R equals to 3. We've gotten our common ratio to be 3. Then we should not forget our formula. Our formula is Sn equals to A into bracket R raised to power n minus 1 all over R minus 1. And this, I'm using this formula because the common ratio is greater than 1. So I will quickly simply do that, and don't forget it is the first 3 terms. So I write S3 equals to, what is my A? A is what? Is 7. A is 7 into bracket. What is my R? R is 3 raised to power how many times? The 3 times minus 1 all by 3 minus 1. And this is going to be 7 into this 27 minus 1 all over 2. And this 7 times 26 all over 2. And 2 goes in 26 is what? Simply 13. So 7 times 13, 7 times 3 is 21. 1 remainder 2. 7 times 1 is what? 7 plus 9. It is what? Plus 2. It is 9. So our answer is what? 91. So the correct option here is what? B, 91. We go to the next question. So our next question says, a straight line makes an angle of 30 degrees to the positive x-axis and cut the y-axis at y equals to 5. Find the equation of the straight line. And this is still what? This is still our equation of a straight line problem, or you call it gradients of a straight line. So let's do justice to that. So we have that the angle is mixed with with the positive x-axis is 30 degrees. What's the incidence of that angle? Our slope m equals to tan theta. That's another way of writing slope. Maybe you are used to this slope m equals to y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Yes, that is also correct in the case when your values are given. But if you are given the angle with which the line makes with the positive x-axis, your slope is gotten by writing tan theta. So tan theta, our theta is is 30 degrees, and it means that m equals to 10 30 degrees. And what is 10 30 degrees? 10 30 degrees is 1 over root 3. So my 10 30 degrees is my slope, and it is 1 over root 3. However, we're told that it's called the x-axis, it's called the y-axis at y equals to 3. Anytime a straight line cuts your y-axis, at that point your x is equals to 0. So literally from that question, I have that x is going to be 0 when y is going to be 5. That is simply the only thing we are going to make of that statement. And with this, I can remember that my equation of the straight line is y equals to m into x minus x1 plus y1. With this, we can put in our values, and let's see how it works. My y equals to my slope is 1 by root 3 into brackets x minus x1 is 0 plus 5. And with this, I can have y equals to x over root 3 plus 5. This is it. But with all this form we are seeing here, none looks the same like this way. So what do? You linearize it. You multiply everything by by root 3. And let's see how it works. So this is going to be y root 3 equals to root 3 is going to cancel this root 3, x plus 5 root 3. And we go back again and see that we have y root 3, or you say root 3y equals to x plus 5 root 3. So the correct option here is B. Option B is the correct option for 20. Next. Alright, question 21. A square tile has side 30 centimeter. How many of these sides cover a rectangular floor of length 7.2 meter and width 4.2 meter? And you ask yourself, there is a little issue which you have to sort out from this problem. And the issue is that you're given a centimeter and you are given a meter. So you have to do what? You have to use either centimeter or meter. However, I would prefer I convert all my centimeter to to meter. And let's do justice to the question again. So there is a square tile that has a side of 30 centimeter. So side is equals to 30 centimeter, which is the same thing as 0.3 meter. So you divide 30 centimeter by 100, you get 0.3 meter. And don't forget, for a square, the area is going to be length squared. So what is going to be my area of the square tile? Area of square tiles is going to be 0.3 multiplied by 0.3 because it is a square, and for a square the area is going to be length square, and this is going to give me 0.09 meters squared. Now that I've had my 0.09 meters squared, let's get the area of the rectangular floor. Area of floor, rectangular floor is going to be length times width, or you see length times breadth. So length times width, and this is going to give me 7.2 times 4.2, all in meter squared. And I have to press, let me check this, 7.2 multiplied by 4.2, and this is going to be 30.24 meter squared. So the question is, how many of 0.09 meter squared are you going to find from 30.24 meters squared? You simply do the total number of sides, total number of sides is going to be what? 30.24 all by what? 0.09. And if you do that divided by 0.09, you're going to have them as what? 336. So you need 336 sides to cover this area. The correct option is option A. So we are now on question 22, and the question reads: in a family of 21 people, the average age is 14 years. If the age of the grandfather is not counted, the average age drops to 12 years. What is the age of the grandfather? And this is just simply what? This is just an average problem, and let's do justice to that. So there were 21 people, and the average age is what? Is 14. How do you get your average age? You say average age is equal to what? Total sum, or you say sum of ages all by number of what? Of people. So I don't know the sum of the ages, but I know the number of the people, and I know the average age. It's so because there are 21 in the family, so and the average age is what? 14. So I write 14 equals to sum of ages all over what? All over 21. So I do this, and it means what? Sum of ages, sum of their ages is going to be 14 by what? 14 by 21. And this result here is what? 294. So if we add the ages of all of the 21 students or 21 people in the family together, it's going to be what? It's going to be 294. There is something that happened. The grandfather's age was now dropped off. When the grandfather's age was dropped off, the new average age becomes what? 12 years. And then in this case, we're going to say the new average age, which is what? 12 years, is what? Sum of the ages without, I'm just writing my without with W/O, the grandfather, all over, because we drop the grandfather, we're not going to write over 21 again, we just write over 20, because without the grandfather, they now was 20 in the family. So we cross multiply again, and sum of the ages without the grandfather becomes 20 times what? 20 times 12, which is what? Which is 240 years. So you ask yourself, if with the grandfather it was 294, and without the grandfather it is 240 years, then we need to know how old is the grandfather. It's simply what? Removing the 240 from 294, and we get the what? The ages of, or the age of the what? Of the grandfather. So the age of grandfather is going to be what? 294 minus 240, and this is simply going to be what? It's going to be 54 years. So the grandfather was what? 54 years. So the correct option here is what? Option D. Next question. Our next question is question 23, and it says, if n is the median and n is the mode of the following set of numbers. M is the mode and n is the median of the set. So we have to look for what? N comma n. It's simply asking us for what? It's simply asking us for what? The mode and the median of the set. So we have to bring out the set out and rearrange it in ascending order or descending order of what? Of their occurrence. So we simply do this. Let's write out these numbers in their ascending or descending order. Whichever way you arrange them, either descending or ascending, you're still going to get the same result. So if you look at this randomly, we see that the least number there is what? 1.6. So I write 1.6 comma, which one follows after 1.6 it is what? 2.1. So I have 2.1. We have how many of them? We have just 2 of them. So I repeat that again. 2.1. After 2.1, what digit do we have again? We have what? 2.4. 2.4. How many of them? I think that is just what? That is just 1. After 2.4, it is what? 2.6. So we have 2.6. And how many of them? 1, 2, 3. We have 3 of them. So we repeat again, 2.6 and 2.6. And the last one is what? The last set is what? 3.7. Because after 2.6, we are having what? 3.7. So the last digit is what? 3.7. And we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 8 data we have there, and it is even. And you know, when it is even, you have always been told that what? The median is going to be addition of the last middle number. So we're going to say 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And the last 2 numbers at the middle is what? Is just 2.4 and 2.6. So we say median will be the mean of this. Median will be what? 2.4 plus 2.6 all by 2. And this is going to be what? 5 divided by 2. And this is going to be what? 2.5. That's our median. So let's allocate whether n or n. Let's go back to the question and you know that n is the median. So we say n equals to 2.5. So we go to the mode. We know that the mode is what? Is the highest occurring value, or the number with what? Highest frequency. And that is obvious because what? 2.6 is the only number that appears 3 times. Every other number appeared less than 3 times. So our what? Our mode, which is n, becomes what? 2.6. And the question says n comma n is going to be what? 2.5 comma 2.6. And the correct option there is what? Is option B. So we go to the next question. Our next question says the locus of the point which moves so that it is equidistant from 2 intersecting straight line is what? Locus is not the problem. If you have 2 intersecting straight lines, the locus of a point which move and it is equidistant from the 2 straight line is simply what? Is a line that is the what? A bisector of the what? Of the line. So it's a perpendicular bisector of the 2 lines. Is it the angle bisector of the 2 lines? Is it the bisector of the 2 lines? Is it line parallel to the 2 lines? So it is what? Because it moves from 2 intersecting straight lines, because these 2 straight lines are intersecting, the only option is what? Is the perpendicular bisector of the 2 lines. Whenever they meet, will be the locus we're talking about. So the correct option here is what? Is option A. We go to the next question, question 25. Question 25. A binary operation delta is defined on all positive integers as x delta y is simply 3x minus 4y. Find the value of, open the bracket, 2 beta minus 2 beta, open bracket, minus 1 beta 4. This is binary operation and it's one of the simplest things you can see in mathematics because the direct substitution, however, it can be tricky. So let's do justice to this. We have the binary operation and it is what? X delta what? Y, and it's given as 3x minus 4y. So this is just the relationship between x and y anytime the delta appears. So the question says we should look for the value of what? 2 delta minus 2 delta what? Delta minus 1 delta 4. Here is going to be 2 delta minus 2 means we go back to our formula and put x equals to 2 and y equals to minus 2. So I start up with 2 delta minus 2. It's simply going to be what? 3. Instead of writing x, I put 2. So times 2 minus 4 times minus 2. Because minus 2 represents y in this formula. So it's going to be what? It's going to be 6 plus 8. And this simply what? 14. So my 2 delta minus 2 is 14. We go again. minus 1 delta 4 is going to be 3 into, instead of writing x, I still write what? Minus 1. I close the bracket. Minus 4 delta, that is 4 times 4. And this is going to be minus 3 times minus 16. And this is simply what? Minus 19. So we have the solution for the first bracket. We have the solution for the second bracket. When we combine them together, we operate them in a binary mode. So the operation is going to be what? 14 delta minus 19. And this is going to be 3 into what? 14 minus 4 into what? Minus 19. And this is simply going to be 3 times 14 is what? Is 42 minus 4 times 19. Minus minus will be what? Plus. So I simply say 4 times 19, which is what? 76. When I add this together, plus 42, and this is going to give me what? 118. So the solution is what? 118.